I don't know about you, but the 2025 Volvo EX90 is a three-row SUV that I have been waiting an awful long time for. And since you're watching this, I'm assuming you are in the same boat. It has taken what feels like forever for this thing to arrive. But here is my early verdict. It's just not quite ready. And I know that sounds weird considering Volvo announced this thing to the public almost 2 years ago. Obviously, it's been working on it for years before that, but the fact that I am driving this thing and there is so much missing that's apparently in progress. So for example, there's no Apple CarPlay, and Volvo's people told me it should be here in a couple weeks. And that means that by the time you're watching this, the EX90 very well could have Apple CarPlay, but the fact that it doesn't is just kind of weird to me. It should have that sort of stuff at launch. There are some other weird ones. For example, there is no distance control for the adaptive cruise control. That again is something that Volvo says is coming later. There are other oddities here too. For example, this thing has digital key technology, so you can use a paired smartphone or one of these little key cards as a key. There's no key fob. That's all very cool, but it's not working well. And apparently they are in the final stages of working it out with Apple to make it as flawless as possible. But again, it's not flawless here today. And a few times on this drive, I have had nothing but problems where the vehicle won't lock. There's also no walkaway lock. The doors do not automatically lock when you walk away, which is just so strange to me. And here's the problem. It's the fact that, again, this has taken so long, and all of these promises of stuff that is coming or is in progress. That should not be the case, no matter the price tag, but considering the fact that this thing starts at $110,600 in Canada at launch. Now, there are going to be more affordable versions, but right now, the cheapest version that you can buy starts at $110,600 before freight, which adds $2,620. There's also luxury tax you got to worry about. So this is a very expensive vehicle that just feels sort of incomplete, and that I do not like. And it's unfortunate because there is a lot here to like. This thing is smooth, it's quiet, it's quick, it has a lot of promising stuff going on, but I just can't get over what it doesn't have. That's what I'm hung up on. Even the LiDAR technology, so the stuff that's stuck behind this big bump in the roof that makes this thing kind of look like a London taxi, that's in learning mode at launch, so it's not even fully featured. And I understand that that sort of stuff, you want to make sure you get it right, but Volvo and its partners have had a long time to get it right. So the fact that that stuff isn't available is a bit of a disappointment. But again, the drive itself is excellent. This thing is as smooth and sultry as you would expect an all-electric flagship from Volvo to be. This one I'm driving is the twin motor performance version, so it's got a ton of output and quickness. It'll do 0 to 100 in, I don't know, right around 5 seconds. Not that that matters too much to me in a family-sized SUV, but I suppose if you do want to brag, well, it's got that going on. This thing also makes 671 pound-feet of torque, and that's why it is so quick. Now that goes with 510 horsepower, and then there's kind of a less impressive one as far as numbers go, and that makes 402 horsepower and 568 pound-feet of torque. That still seems like plenty to me, but I haven't had the chance to drive it yet. I am in this performance version. And as far as range is concerned, well, 495 kilometers according to Volvo's estimates, no official numbers at this launch. Importantly though, if you go with 20 or 22-inch wheels like this one I'm driving is riding on, that range number drops to 476. Not a huge penalty, but I know it's short of that 500 kilometers a lot of people cite that they're looking for in an EV. And considering this thing has a massive 111 kilowatt hour battery pack, it does seem like a bit of a shortcoming that it just couldn't quite get there as far as range is concerned. And then when it comes to plugging in, well, this can charge at speeds as fast as 250 kilowatts, which is plenty when you hook up to a DC fast charger. That means in ideal conditions, you can do that 10 to 80% jump in half an hour or so. But we all know that those circumstances are going to be rare. Hooking up to a level 2 charger at home, you're going to be able to charge this thing up overnight. That's what you like to see, especially with such a big battery pack. Now, I do want to talk about this one I'm driving. This is the Ultra. So it starts at just over $116,000 before freight and tax. Again, a lot of money, but it's got some cool upgrades, including an air suspension system that does a decent job, except for those 22-inch wheels. You guys know EVs are stiff, the battery packs are low down. You can really feel it when you are rolling around over pressure cracks. Even down here in Southern California, the pavement isn't quite perfect, and when you hit those imperfections, you can feel it even when the suspension is set to the comfort mode. I did have it in the kind of firm setting just to see what it was like. It does change it quite drastically, but it's not something that I would recommend using very often. It feels very unnecessary. Same with the steering feel. You can firm it up, but I don't see why. It's not super firm. It doesn't feel sporty or very heavy. And this is just a nice setup. No, it doesn't have a lot of feel, but it does feel pretty good. I wouldn't have any problem cruising around in the normal setting. That to me is tailor-made for this SUV. Now, as far as space goes, this thing feels like an all-electric successor to the XC90, but that's because that's exactly what it is. So the space inside, yeah, it feels a lot like the space you get in that gas or plug-in hybrid that Volvo has been building for years, and that does a very good job. Some of the stuff that's not so good, this technology in here, I'm not entirely in love with the implementation of this system. For example, the Google Maps, it's very good. It's no different than GM with the Blazer EV, as well as the Cadillac Lyriq. You have this Google built-in system that has integrated Google Maps that seems to provide pretty accurate range estimates. I really like that. I like the fact that you can also see the map view in this little instrument display just in front of the steering wheel. But as far as the overall functionality of it, it's not so great. So for example, if you want to adjust your mirrors, you have to do it through the touchscreen. The same goes with adjusting the steering wheel. I don't like that at all. Those sort of things should have their dedicated physical controls. There are also no redundant physical climate controls, even for the basics. Everything is done through the touchscreen, which I do not like. And speaking of something I don't like, that's sort of climate related, no ventilated front seats here. So you get heated front seats, a heated steering wheel, you get massaging seats with the Ultra trim, but no ventilation up front. And that to me is just bizarre in a six-figure SUV. So look, I know I have been complaining a lot about this vehicle. I do like it. It is very smooth to drive. It's comfortable. It checks a lot of boxes. I just don't think it's quite ready for prime time yet. That is the problem, and I understand that you can't wait forever. It was really starting to feel that this thing was existing as nothing more than a promising prototype, and Volvo had to pull the trigger. And yes, apparently a bunch of these complaints are going to be rectified with software updates, but I would much rather see those be ready right from the jump instead of saying they are coming. I still think if you are in the market for one of these, you should put your name down, you should take it for a test drive, but know that you're not getting the total package from day one, and that to me is a problem.